Thanks everybody for attending today's training on Canvas quizzes and exams. Today's session, along with all the other training sessions this week, will be recorded and you'll have the option of viewing them again later on. Due to the large number of participants which may be in this session, the moderator, I'll mute your microphone, or you can mute your microphone in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. If you have a question, please use the chat feature located at the bottom of the screen to send your questions. And we'll compile the questions and the presenter will answer those at the end of the session, or if it's something I can answer, I can also answer it for you. I want to start today's session by sharing some information that we are including in all the training sessions. If you are brand new to remote or online teaching, we recommend that you visit and explore the resources on the K-State Keep Teaching website at ksu.edu/keepteaching. The Preparing and Planning page on the Remote Teaching and Learning Resource tab has a checklist of steps to get you started. And the home page of the website also includes getting started checklists for students and faculty. And I'm going to provide a link to this in the chat when I'm finished with this little script here. And using various remote teaching options, we want to encourage you to keep things as simple as possible. And this session is going to focus on practical steps that you can use to implement right now. If you have additional questions after today's session, please send them to gcid@k-state.edu. This email address is being monitored by the Global Campus Instructional Design Team, and all inquiries will be responded to as quickly as possible. You can also contact the IT Help Desk by phone at 785-532-7722 or via email at helpdesk@ksu.edu. And I'm going to share this again as soon as I'm finished with this script. Please also check out the K-State Keep Teaching training sessions page to see if there are other sessions that can provide helpful information as you transition to remote teaching. And I'm going to provide that link here also. And then again, due to the large number of participants, which may be in this session, we're going to mute your microphones unless you have a comment that you'd like to make. And if you have a question, please use the chat feature located on the bottom of the screen to send your questions. And we will answer them at the end of the session. So I'm going to put those links on there right now. And Hongfu, I'm going to let you go ahead and get started.
All right, let me just share my screen real quick. We will start from the beginning of quizzes. So quizzes are if you use the old K-State Online, Canvas is equivalent to online assignments in it. So students go online, they answer questions. Some of them are graded automatically. Some of them needs manually grading. I assume that some of you might be familiar with it already. Some of you might have never used it. So let's talk about the settings in a quiz. So you create a quiz by going to quizzes and hit the plus quiz button. So the quiz settings this is the quiz settings page. The giant box on top is the quiz instruction. This is where you tell the student, hey, you have X amount of time to answer X amount of questions. Basically some general instruction, when it's going to be available, things like that. And maybe it would also be a good place to paste your academic honesty statement here. Don't cheat, in more technical language. There are 4 types of quizzes. Practice quiz does not go into the gradebook. It's just a practice quiz. You still gather the data on what people answered and whether or not they are correct or not, but it doesn't show up in the gradebook. Graded quiz is what most people use. It's graded, it's in the gradebook. Graded survey is a participation point. It's a survey. They answer the questions and they get points as long as they participated. Ungraded survey is a survey that does not go into the gradebook. Today we're mostly worried about graded quiz. The options are shuffle answer. Keep in mind this says shuffle answer, not shuffle question. So it's in a multiple choice question, it would just shuffle A, B, C, D, E. Don't turn this on if you have answers such as both A and A and B, because that will just shuffle what is A and what is B. Time limit is the time limit of the quiz. We will go ahead and put shuffle answer on, put a time limit of 30 minutes. This shouldn't take long, 10 minutes in there. Allow multiple attempt does what it does. By default, if this is not checked and there's a line here, it means there's unlimited amount of multiple takes that they can have. The quiz score to keep is either highest, latest, or the average. Some professor use allow 2 attempts, but that is up to you. This box decide when students can see the response of a multiple choice question, and that's kind of important when distance teaching, and they might share data. As long as this top box is checked, students see what they have answered and whether or not they get that question correct or incorrect. So at least they see what they got right. So if you're concerned about student not sharing the quizzes, I would uncheck this box until everybody has taken it, and then come back and check this box and check this box. I would not worry about the dates. I wish the dates, the show correct answer at, would also apply to the top box. That would be helpful. But in the meantime, I would recommend unchecking this box until everybody has done the quiz, then come back and check it and make the answers and feedback available to the students. Show one question at a time is very helpful in cases like this where everybody is taking things distantly. If you don't click this, all the questions are scrollable. You can just scroll up and down and list all the questions. If you check this, then you just hit the next and previous button, which in a larger quiz makes it a bit more difficult to collaborate. We will also talk about how to shuffle questions later. And let's say if there's a 75 question where you pick 50 random questions to have the student answer, the chance of 2 students seeing the same question fairly near each other in the test is pretty low. Require access code is just a password. I'm not sure I'm not sure what the use case scenario is for distance, but that's a password. Student need to type in that password before they can do the quiz. Filter IP address is not something that's particularly useful to K-State because our IP address are kind of random and all over the place, but theoretically you can filter for the first 2 digits of the IP address or the first 3 digits or a specific IP address, but most people have dynamic IP. The assign box, for those of you who has not taught online, this one gets a little confusing. By default, it's assigned to everyone with no due dates, no available from date, and until dates. Available from date is fairly straightforward in that that's the date where they can start taking this quiz. Due date is the soft cutoff in that they should have done the quiz by this point. The until date is the hard cutoff in that they cannot do the quiz after this time without an exception. So if they do the quiz between the due dates and the until date, they will be marked as late and they show up as red in the gradebook, in the gradebook cell. You can have multiple assigned to boxes by clicking on add, because sometimes some student needs a different time. Maybe they are traveling, maybe they have other difficulties where they can not take the quiz at the normal assigned time. So you can have everyone take take the quiz from yesterday until tomorrow, but Peter only gets to take it from today at 9 a.m. And a common mistake I see instructor who even teaches online does is when they have a student who needs an exception and needs a different due time, they delete everyone else and just type in the students in the top box and then adjust the date. What that does is this assignment is now only assigned to that one student and nobody else. So if you need to make an exception for one student, remember to click the add box. You can have multiple students in the same box, and you can have, I don't know, I think you can have as many as 10 plus. I have done 15, but I don't know what the limit is. But the limit is you probably won't hit the limit. Let's talk about how to create questions in a quiz. There are two tabs on top. The details tab are all the settings we just went through. The question tab is where we create questions. I will talk about those questions types specifically. And then we will do a preview of it so we can see what it looks like to the students. Multiple choice is probably going to be the most common question type. This is just a question title. I would use it to make organization easier. It'll just be a good at a glance view of what this question is about, typing something short, or you can just leave it the default and it'll still work fine. When you are in this question tab, you add questions by going to the bottom and you hit new questions. And the first question type is multiple choice. You can set the point value on the top right, and those three things are going to be consistent for all question types. Multiple choice is fairly straightforward. You type in the question text in the top box, and then you can put in the possible answers on the bottom. And you can add as many possible answers. I haven't gone to 50 or something like that, but it can go up into the 20s pretty easily. You type in the possible answers, and you can select the correct answer. By default is going to be the top one. You can change the correct answer by mousing over the actual correct answer and then clicking this green arrow, and it will mark that particular answer as correct. There is also a bunch of bubbles underneath possible answers and correct answers. This is where you can put in comments like congratulating someone for answering the question correctly, or explaining why they might have gotten the wrong answer on this particular question. True, false, and this shows up like this for the students. True, false is this almost the same as multiple choice, except there's only two possible choices. You type in the question, and then you select true or false as the correct answer, and then you can make comments if you want. Fill in the blank. Fill in the blank will show up like this. The question type is on top, and then you have a text box where you can enter the text. I believe, and then you can type in possible answers. If there are multiple ways of spelling a possible answer, I would add as many of them as possible in there, so the automatic grader pick up as much as possible without you going in and overriding the automatic grader. It is not case sensitive, so if they type in lowercase Siridae, it will still work fine. Again, you can provide comments if you want. The common thing is in all question types, in most question types. Fill in multiple blank will look like this, where you can specify where the blanks are specifically. So you would type the question, and then where the blank is supposed to be, you type in a bracket, a left bracket, whatever you want the question, the blank to be called, and underneath you have both the blanks and the possible correct answer. And note that I have put in as many names as I remember, um, as many possible answers that's correct as I can. That way, you just need to go in and review the student less. Multiple answer. Multiple answers is like multiple choice, except you can select multiple answers. That's helpful for when there are multiple correct answers. You select the correct answer by clicking the bubble on the left, except I think you can have literally 0 correct answer or everything be correct answer. And but yeah, it's just check marks, and people have the freedom to select whichever they prefer. Multiple dropdown is kind of similar to multiple. It's a combination of multiple choice and then fill in the blank. It's enter similarly to fill in the blank in that you put the dropdown with you put the potential dropdown with its name around the bracket in the question where it fits. So the 7 most populous metropolitan in the US, I gave it a name of 9 US, and this is where you set the correct answers. Same mechanic as multiple choice. It will show up as like this. They get a drop down, they get the possible choices. Matching. You type in a left prompt and then a right prompt that matches with it. And then you can add additional right prompts. This is about movies and directors. I just added a couple more directors that shows up. So everything's going to be a drop-down menu. The left side gets shuffled, and then everything on the right side and in the additional match possibilities gets shoved into a drop-down menu, and the student can select between them. There is a question type called text no question that does exactly what it says it does. It just adds a question that's just a string of text. You can use that to segue different type of questions. Like you can say that the next part's going to be true or false questions, and they're worth 1 point each, if you feel like it would be helpful. Essay question, very straightforward. You enter a prompt, and then there's no more options. It's you enter a prompt, they have a giant text box to write an essay. File upload, you give them a prompt, and they can upload one file, not multiple files. They can only upload one file. Granted, they should be able to grab multiple files, put them in a zip, and upload that zip, but they can only upload one file with this prompt. Let's see. One important thing to mention is that regrading is possible only in certain question types. Regrading is when you enter a question, let's say, yeah, let's say I put in the wrong correct answer for this question, or the question is confusing and both answers can theoretically be correct. In this case, the first song of side 2 of Zeppelin 3 is theoretically the first track of Zeppelin 3 in a sense. If student answered, for example, this answer, and you want to give them credit, you just need, after everybody has taken it, you come back, you edit this quiz, and then you edit this particular question, and then you change the possible answer. And it will come up with a pop-up window that you do not see now that give you 4 options. Do nothing, only give the credit to the new correct answer. So everybody who answered Immigrant Song would have their point taken away. Julie? The last option is to give everyone, there's 2 more options. The other option is to give credit to people who answer both this and this points. And then the last option is to just give everybody a point on this question. Regrading is, it's very helpful for larger classes because you don't want to go back and manually regrade one particular question on a course with 100 plus students. Regrading is only available for multiple choice, true, false, and multiple answers, and nothing else. Multiple choice, true, false, fill in the blank, fill in multiple blanks, multiple answer, multiple drop down, matching, numerical and formula are the automatically grading ones. So if you put in the right prompt, like in fill in the blank, if they type in exactly how you have the answers, they'll get a point automatically. But if they type in something similar that you consider okay, but it's not in the prompt, they don't get the point, and then you need to go to SpeedGrader and give them points. Essay question needs to be manually graded. File upload question needs to be manually graded. The computer can make those kind of decisions. Questions in the meantime? Julie, did you get any?
I have a couple here. What about securing exams so that the quality exams are as secure as possible? Can you tell us about anything about that?
We will talk about shuffling questions. The 2 options we've already talked. Wait, are we talking about the 2 options we already talked about are the show 1 question at a time and then shuffle answers, but we will talk about shuffle questions in a bit.
Okay. How about, can I add figures and pictures to the quiz as same as like in Word?
We will also talk about pictures. You attach pictures by going to this button where it says embed image, but you will need to upload the images to files already to attach it. You click attach image. If the file exists on your personal server already, then you can post the link here if it's hot linkable. But for all intents and purposes, you go into Canvas, you go to course files, and then you find a picture, and then you update it. And then you can drag and resize.
Very good. Okay, and then Deborah Goins wanted to know, will there be assistance with converting test documents from Word to a Canvas quiz using Respondus 4.0?
There will, we will start a service form for that. But yeah, for those who have used Respondus before, it is a very particular, I don't have an example file on this computer, but it's a very particular formatting. It's like question type and then A, B, C, D, and then you put an asterisk next to the correct answer. But for those of you that has used it before and has access to it on public computers at the help desk before, we will make some kind of service form and make that available to you.
Okay. Does the text box for essay questions allow students to enter accent marks?
Sorry. This is a French question. Yeah, I mean, if they have a French input, it works.
Okay. Okay. How do you grade uploaded files?
So we will go ahead and do this quiz real quick. As quiz and exam demo. You go into speed grader and then you just put in points. So any other questions in the meantime?
How about, can I lock down the browser as a form of security?
Lockdown browser and Examity are being looked at, but I don't have any news on that front yet.
Okay. Is Respondus available to everyone?
Respondus, what product?
I guess it says Respondus 4.0 maybe. Will that be available for everyone or?
Respondus 4.0 is the converting from text to quiz. That won't be available to everyone. Lockdown browser might, but I don't know.
Okay. How do you have students show their work for computational problems?
What kind of like programming codes, things like that?
I don't know. That might be a question to ask. And it was Sharat. Is that correct? Do you have that question? Would you like to speak on that?
Everybody should be able to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Let's see.
Cool.
I will go down here and see if I can find that person. Here it is. There she is. Is it Sharat?
Yeah. Basically, what I would like to know is that let's say that you have like a problem where you want students to show their work to see if they understand, and you can grade it, step by step. So you may ask, it's just simply a computational problem, and you want to see how students work. It's not going to be like multiple choice question or true false, but you actually want student to work out the problem and to show and show the step by step that they do. Can we do that on this Canvas function here?
Not very straightforwardly. Most students have a smartphone that can take pretty decent pictures. If it's something that they kind of need to work out on paper, they might be able to just work it out on paper and then upload the picture as a file upload. Would that work?
That could.
But then you need to grade it manually.
Yeah, I don't mind
how do you do that?
Yeah, well, I don't mind grading it manually because usually my exam will have like multiple choice questions, which this would fit well. But then the other part is that I want students to basically, it could be a big numerical problem, and then I want students to show the work that they do, so that I know where they do wrong, or if whether or not they understand the how to do it.
Yeah,
but I just don't see how I'm going to be able to do it here.
Yeah. So in the questions, you can attach files to a certain to all the questions.
So where do you see them, Hongfu? Where are those files, and how do you go about grading them, even if manually? But how is it done?
Okay, so I just submitted the quiz as a student. It shows up like this. He has 7 out of 9, but question 8, which is essay, and question 9, which is file upload, needs manual review. So you just scroll down to question 9, and the uploaded file is just here. You click on it, and then you download it, and then you can open it.
So,
And then you give points here.
okay. Okay, so the way to go is for the student to maybe work the problem on a piece of paper and then take a picture of it and then upload it into the exam.
Yeah, I would ask the students if any of them don't have a smartphone or something like that before making that kind of decision. But most people, I think, do nowadays.
Okay.
When you grade, let's say that they submit a JPEG or a PDF.
Mm-hmm.
Can you make comments that are saved on the file?
If it's if you have used the SpeedGrader marking tool before, it is not available for the file upload question types in quizzes. But if you have the tools to mark them on your computer, you should be able to attach a file in the comments. You can be like, this is the marked up PDF, please review, something like that. But if it's an assignment where they're mainly just submitting a PDF, I would use an assignment, a file upload type assignment, rather than using a quiz. Quiz are mostly here for those question types, not the file upload. The file upload is kind of that side thing.
Can we get back to that? How it says how to access and grade your uploaded files. I think you had said we'd get back to that. How does that
Right.
work?
So when student has finished submitting, you just go to SpeedGrader. It will show a list. Come on. It will show a list of students. Student that hasn't submitted will be grayed out. Student that has submitted but requires some review will show up with this orange dot. And then you grade their essay question.
Sorry, for quizzes or for assignments?
This is for quizzes. Quizzes has SpeedGraders too.
So what's the difference with an assignment then?
You can't have multiple choice questions in assignments. Assignments are basically, we'll talk about assignment real quick. So quizzes are for online testing. Assignments, I'll show you the assignment type. Most of those boxes are the same as quizzes, except you can enter a point amount. There are 4 types of assignments. No submission and on paper are essentially the same thing in that they don't do anything online. It's just a point value with a title and then some instructions. There is an online assignment type. Most people don't use text entry, website URL, or media recording. And I'd probably discourage media recording because it was a bit unreliable in the past. But most people do online submission type and then file upload. What that does, we'll just do a file upload. And you can restrict the upload file type if you only want, say, PDF, GIF, and the rest of the box is the same. So what this look like to the students is looks like this. All they do is they upload a file. And from the instructor point of view, you can go to SpeedGrader and it previews here. You can give them a point. And I don't have a PDF to upload, but if they uploaded a PDF or Word, there's some marking tool where you can highlight things, make comments, and then give them a score.
How about, can students take a quiz on their smartphone if they don't have a laptop? I've heard there's some questions with that or some problems.
Unless they have a Windows phone or old school BlackBerry, Android and iOS both have Canvas apps. And the Canvas mobile website is honestly pretty good too. So if they just want to open Safari or Chrome and do it there, that works as well.
Okay. Okay. One last one. How do I implement French and French input?
That is a very good question. I don't know if so ideally student will have the French language set up on their computer by going to language setting or whatever the Mac equivalent is, and then they can add additional input types. If not, they can probably Google something like French accents and then just copy paste the specific characters. I would recommend them just adding a French keyboard on their on their computer, and that should be, that depends on the platform. It's different on Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android, but it can all be done free and fairly straightforwardly.
Okay. And I think we need to have a little more discussion on assignments, how that works.
What do you
please walk us step by step to how to set up an assignment, what the student sees, what the faculty sees, what the grading is, because it's been a bit of a mesh this far.
Okay. So I'm not going to focus on the other type of assignments. Let me see if I have let me create a quick Word document real quick. So I'm not going to worry about the other assignment types, the no submission and on papers. If you have something that they don't do online that you need grading, those are the submission type to use. I'm only going to focus on online submission, file upload type assignments. Assignments is just, there's a title, there's an instruction. This is where you say, please upload a 500 words or greater Word document or PDF essay on yada yada topic, and then you put down how many points it's worth. And quiz doesn't have this option. Assignment have this option where you can just have assignment that doesn't go towards the final grades. Group assignment is probably outside the scopes. Group assignments is if you create groups and then they work together on an assignment. The assign to box is the same as the quizzes one. You can create more of them. You can have different due dates for different people. So I am gonna go upload it real quick. So the upload file interface, they can use just a file from their computer. They can use Dropbox or Office 365 if they have those accounts connected to Canvas, but most don't, but most just pick a file from their computer. The plus side with file upload assignments versus having a file upload question inside a quiz is you can upload multiple files. You can, I don't know what the limit is, but it's fairly high. You can upload, we'll upload that GIF again. And then you can submit a
Can you
comment.
grade each of those files separately and assign points to each of the
No.
files separately?
No. In an assignment, this whole assignment is worth 100 points, and you're grading. You can make a comment and be like, you got, I don't know, 40 out of 50 on the first question, and then you got 35 out of 50 on the second question, combining to 100. You can make that kind of comment, but it's not separated out. It's considered one thing.
Okay, thank you.
So you have a bit more options with Word and PDF in assignments. If you go to speed graders, in Word, you see this bar here. You can highlight some. You can highlight things, make comments, and you can strike out, you can type. If you mouse over them, there's always a trash button. So if you accidentally do something, you can always trash it. You can draw things as well. And students will see those markings. I don't know why that one. Oh, after you draw a line, you need to click this check mark to confirm it. Once it's graded, students will see that in their own feedback. If they go to, no, they got to click into it, and then they go view feedback. They will see the markings. They can click this button and it'll download an annotated document, so they don't have to read all of that in this tiny box.
Hi, Hongfu.
Yep.
I just wanted to jump in for a second. I know we're going to be close to time here pretty soon, and there's some questions specific to quizzes and exams. And I just wanted to say that there is another session specifically about assignments later. So I thought it might be helpful to stay within the scope of this session. We have questions about equations and adding pictures and different things that are specific to quizzes that I thought you might need to answer.
Yeah, let's do that.
So some of our questions are, can you review how to use formula questions and numerical answers in quizzes?
Formula questions, I just wouldn't use. That's for like K-12 math. What's the other question type?
Can we, let's see.
Numerical.
So
yeah.
Formula questions or numerical answers on quizzes?
Gotcha. Formula questions ask you to like phrase a question and then enter a formula. So the example is what is 5 plus x, and then you can add the range for x. X can be anywhere from 1 to 1,000, and then it'll randomly generate 3 questions. That's what is 5 plus 2, what is 5 plus 357, what is 5 plus 999, and it'll automatically generate the answers as well based on the formula you enter. It is for lower level math. I don't really think anybody at K-State is going to use it. Numerical answers, you can post a question here, and then you can have different type of, you can require an exact answer, you can enter a range, and then you can answer with precision. So you can do like 1.6667, and then requires, I think precision is just 10 is like one dot after the 0. If you search numerical answer canvas, I think it gives you more details on that. But basically, yeah, you can enter a formula answer. Formula entry is insert math equation, allows you to insert various math equation. It's fairly extensive, but I don't know if it covers everything. It covers the basics of math equation entering. Anything else? Because I want to talk about, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay. They're not clear if you can add a picture to matching questions or multiple choice questions. Can you add a picture there?
Matching questions. Let's see. Matching. Well, you cannot add the pictures to matching questions answers, but any of the questions prompt, you can input pictures by just clicking on embed image. So you can theoretically go match yada, and then one is one picture, two is another picture, and in the possible answers you just type in 1, 2, 3, 4. That would work.
Okay. Can students use the equation editor in essay questions?
I think so. One sec. Okay. I want to talk about a couple more things real quick, and then we can go back to questions.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, if a student has submitted a quiz, if they submitted a quiz by accident, because this quiz is one take only, and you want to give them another take, you go to moderate this quiz, and then it says attempt left 0. You just go to the pen. You give them one extra attempt, and then you click manually unlock the quiz for the next attempt. That gives them no time limit. They can, but I would provide some instruction. You have to have it done by whatever time. That will unlock the quiz for me to take again. Wait. That's how you give them another take. Another thing, sorry. Let me make this a timed quiz real quick. Another thing, I know disability and accommodation is a concern. So if a quiz has a time limit of 60 minutes or 10 minutes, let's say, and somebody needs twice the amount of time, you need to do this before they take the quiz. What you need to do is you find the people that needs the extra help, click change extension, and then there's an option called extra time on every attempt. Everybody already get 10 minutes. We will give those 2 people an additional 10 minutes. So when those 2 people log in to do their quizzes, they'll have 20 minutes rather than 10 minutes. At the end of the day, the until and the due dates are deciding factors. So if until dates and due dates are the same, and they have less time until the until date than what the time limit is, they must submit by the until date. Last thing I want to talk about is shuffling questions. Shuffling questions is done by, we'll just use this quiz. Shuffling questions is done by creating a question group within the quiz, the list of questions. When you create a group, make sure all the questions within this group needs to be the same amount of points, and then you specify how many questions you are picking and how many points each question is worth. And once you create the group, you can drag and drop questions into this group. You can have more questions you cannot have less questions in this group than what it picks, but you can have more. So you can theoretically have 100 questions in a question group that picks 50 questions. That will just increase the randomness and discourage cheating. So as it's currently set up, it will pick 5 questions out of those nine questions, and it will present them to the student on random, and then there'll be 2 points each. Lastly, pictures. I mentioned earlier, if you want to attach pictures to quizzes, you need to upload them ahead of time. I would highly encourage just creating a folder called exam pictures or something like that. And you want to set that folder to this permission called only available to student with link. This means when students go to files, they do not see this folder. But if it's attached to the quizzes, they will still see it fine. If it's set to unpublished, when they hit that picture, it'll show them a giant error message saying this picture is not available to you. So, so as long as the folder is set to this only available via link, what permission is underneath it doesn't really matter. It needs to be published or this only available to student with link. Make sure all the pictures that you attach in a quiz is in either this state or this state, and all the folders above it are in one of those two states. Sorry, I think, yeah, we can go back to questions now.
Okay. How about, what if a student loses connection while taking a quiz?
Quiz should be automatically saving. So as soon as you select a multiple choice bubble, it should be saving then. So if they lose connection, they should, and they get it back right away, they should be able to come back. They should be able to resume, as long as it's not that they haven't hit their time limit. Yeah, anyway.
How about question banks?
Question, when you, some of you might have access to external textbook vendors with question banks. You can go into settings, and then you can go to import, and it's usually a QTI zip file. You select the QTI zip file, and then it will import as both a quiz and then a question bank with the same questions as in the quiz. When you create questions manually within a quiz, it will be, all the question will be put into a question bank called unfiled question. I imported this quiz earlier, so it created this question bank with 30 questions. You can attach questions from a question bank to a quiz by going to edit question. You find the list of questions, and then you go to find questions. It will show you a list of question banks. For example, if I want 3 questions from Romeo and Juliet, and then it'll ask you if you want to put them in no groups, or if you have an assignment group created, you can add them to a particular group. Keep in mind that question bank loads 50 questions by default. So if you have a question bank that's 100 questions and you want to just attach everything, you need to scroll down here to the bottom, go to load more questions, or it'll have a prompt on the very bottom between this, and then you can go back to top and then go to select all. And then we'll just put those in.
Does that work the same if you have a question bank that you make yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Can you randomize the order of the questions groups?
No.
Okay. Like, so student sees group 1 first and then group 3 second. You can't do it that way.
The student do not see groups. Student just see questions, but they will see the questions from the first group first, and then they will see the group questions from the second group next.
Will the app work with embedded images?
They should. As long as the permission is set right, it'll work fine.
Okay. Can students use, oh, okay then. Okay, I'm looking here. That looks like about all of the ones I have here. Go ahead
Hey,
and
we're
keep
doing
posting.
good on time.
I know. Great questions too. If I missed any questions, please post them again. I think I've got them all here.
Well,
Someone asked about training the students how to do it, how to take quizzes. Is there anything in the process for that? We don't have anything set up for students, do we?
We don't. It might not be a bad idea to have a practice quiz where it's no points with the question type so the student get familiarized with it. We do have a Canvas student guide, but it is all very general questions. There is, if you Google, there is a bunch of how to articles about how to take quizzes.
Okay. And I don't know this, Laura, maybe, or Trina, maybe you know, is there going to be a session for rubrics?
I don't know that there will be a session for rubrics specifically, but I am guessing that Ben will cover that within assignments.
Okay.
Or actually, Hongfu, are you going to cover that in gradebooks?
No,
Okay.
that will be assignments. Gradebook will mostly be gradebook.
Okay. I will let Ben know that that's something that he'll want to talk about in assignments if he hadn't planned to already, but I assume he would, so.
See any other questions popping? Oh, here. It would be helpful to show how rubrics connect to quizzes if there's time.
I don't think rubrics actually connects to quizzes. I think it might be assignments only.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Not sure how to apply a rubric to a quiz, but
I don't. Yeah, I think rubric is assignment only. It's not quiz.
Okay. Is there a way for us to test a quiz without a smartphone? Is there a way to test a quiz with our smartphone?
I don't have the Canvas teacher app. Download the Canvas teacher app and see if the option, the student view option is there. If not, maybe see if you can find a colleague and then create a course and then add yourself as a teacher. And then as a teacher, I think you have the roles, the ability to, no, you don't. Create a course, add a colleague as create a quiz, add a colleague as a teacher, and then have them change you to a student. And then you should be able to download the Canvas student app and then take the quiz. Though I would go and download the Canvas teacher app and see if student view is a thing there first. I don't know off the top of my head. It would make sense for them to have it.
You can preview the quiz on the Canvas app and modify questions in your phone, but I don't remember if you can grade it. You can only see the preview as the same windows that you do when you edit quizzes on the phone.
Oh, I think the speed grader should work. I don't see any. No, that's not talking about the app. I don't know. Okay. Off the top of my head, unfortunately.
Well, it looks like our time is almost up here.
Oh,
Did you?
They do say that Canvas teacher app allows grading for quizzes. And worst case, I think if you log into Canvas on your phone on the browser, you should have the same functionality as the computer, though everything will be very small.
Okay, well, thank you, Hongfu, and thank you everyone for joining us here. And I hope you found this helpful. Remember, if you have additional questions after today's session, you can send them to gcid@k-state.edu. This email is being monitored by the Global Campus Instructional Design Team, and all inquiries will be responded to as quickly as possible. You can also contact the IT Help Desk by phone at 785-532-7722 or via email at helpdesk@ksu.edu. I'm also going to share this information again in the chat box. Please also check out the K-State Teaching and Learning training sessions page to see if there's any other sessions that can provide helpful information as you transition to remote teaching. And I'm going to provide this link again also in the chat box. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending. And good luck.